Hello, welcome back to math. This is Mr. Escaton once again, and today we are going to be talking about what do we do when we have to multiply and divide exponents. So first, let's talk about multiplying exponents. Okay, let's say I had 5 squared, and I multiply that to 5 to the third power. Well, if we were to break this down, this 5 squared is nothing more than 5 times 5. We're multiplying that by 5 to the third power is just 5 times 5 times 5. Well, if we add all these up, we get 5 to the fifth power. How do we get a 5 out of these two numbers? You're absolutely right. If I take 5 to the 2 plus 3, I get 5 to the fifth. So when we are multiplying exponents, you want to add the bases, add the exponents. Now, there's one thing that has to stand. In order to do this, the bases, which are the numbers that the exponents are applied towards, they have to be the same. Let me show you an example. Let's say I had something like this. Well, I can tell you right now that if you were to add this, if you were to put this into the calculator, this is not the same as this. It's also not the same as this. So, in order to add these numbers together, these bases have to be the same. And in this case, the 6 is not the same as a 5. Okay, so let's try another example here. What if I had 5 to the 3 times 5 to the negative 1? Well, again, you just add them up. So I'm going to take 5 to the third, and I'm going to add a negative 1. Well, most of you guys know from my class last year that anytime we add a negative, that is the same as subtraction. So I end up with 5 squared. The same rules apply. You add the exponents. It does not matter if one of them are a negative number. You still add the exponents and follow the same rules of adding and subtracting integers that you guys learned. Okay, let's try one more. What if I had 5 to the negative 8, and I'm multiplying that by 5 to the third? Well, again, you're just going to add the integer. So I have 5 to the negative 8 plus 3, and that gives me 5 to the negative 5. Now, I have a negative exponent. What did we learn the other day about negative exponents? Well, in order to take that negative exponent and make it positive, I can turn it into a fraction. So 5 to the negative 5 is the same as 1 over 5 to the fifth power. So in other words, 5 to the negative 8 times 5 to the third is 1 over 5 to the fifth power. Fifth power. So that's multiplying exponents. Now let's talk about dividing exponents. Okay, so when we're multiplying exponents, we are adding the exponents. When we're dividing exponents, anybody have an idea of what we're going to be doing? Yeah, we're going to be doing the opposite of adding. We're going to be subtracting the exponents. So let's take an example here. Let's say I have 5 to the fourth, and that is over 5 squared. Well, since dividing is the opposite of multiplying, instead of adding these exponents, I am going to subtract them. 5 to the 4 over 5 squared becomes 5 to the 4 minus 2. And when we simplify that, 4 minus 2 just gives us 2. So in other words, 5 to the 4 over 5 squared is 5 squared. All right. What if we had something a little bit harder? Again, you want to keep the same rules of adding and subtracting integers. Let's try this. Let's say we had 5 to the negative 1 over 5 to the sixth. Well, again, we are subtracting the integers. So again, I'm going to take 5 to the negative 1, and I'm going to subtract 6. And what does that give me? Well, anytime I have same signs, I add the numbers and I keep the signs. So 6 and 1 is 7, and I keep the sign. So 5 to the negative 1 over 5 to the 6 is 5 to the negative 1 minus 6, which eventually is 5 to the negative 7. Okay, one last example to make sure you guys understand how to add and subtract integers. Let's take 5 to the third over 5 to the negative 1. Well, again, we are subtracting the exponent. So this is the same as 5 to the 3. Now, I can't just write 3 minus 1 because this already is a negative 1. I have to write 3 minus a negative 1. And for you guys last year, what happens when we have two negative signs together? They become a positive. So that is the same as 5 to the 3 plus 1. And 5 to the third over 5 to the negative 1 is simply 5 to the fourth. Again, remember to use those properties of adding and subtracting integers. Use those same rules. Okay, have a good day.